Canada's information space in the 21st century and why we've got it all wrong. Irvin Student here, Editor-in-Chief and Publisher, Global Brief Magazine, President of the Institute for 21st Century Questions. Hope everyone's well. Let's talk about the Canadian information space. We have a very heated debate. Indeed, we've had a heated debate in Canada for some time along two axes in what I call the information space. It is the information space. It is not just media, but it is all the information we consume, we generate, we trade, we absorb, we refine in Canada across our geography, mentally, through all sorts of vehicles. So it's the information space, and it's that much more important in the internet age and now the social media age. Post-pandemic, all the more so because everything was reduced to internet and social media. And most of our regular media are mediated, as it were, negotiated through social media algorithms that we'll discuss imminently. So most of the debate in Canada is along two axes. The x-axis is content, or what I call quality of information. Is it good information? Is it bad information? Is it accurate information? Is it disinformation? Yeah. Is it information? Okay? And the second one is privacy. Okay? So we imagine that we're interested in protecting our data, protecting our information, source of information, that it not go to private interests in some cases, that not go outside of Canada or to foreign countries, or that foreign countries in turn don't pollute our information space, to which we'll return in a second. And this is essentially where we are in our debate, including in recent debates on foreign interference, but most importantly on the strength of different platforms as they populate our information space. But we're missing most of the picture, colleagues. There's the third axis, and we need to think bigger if we're going to get it right. It's a z-axis, so 3 dimensions now, and it's called the term setting one. Who sets the terms for our two-dimensional debate, as we imagine, for our content and for our privacy imperative? In other words, who develops the algorithms for the internet we use, and especially the social media that we've been consuming and using through the pandemic and post-pandemic? So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, also Google and YouTube, on which you'll find this terrific video and many Global Brief videos. Who sets the terms? Nobody asks the questions. We in Canada imagine that this is our real estate for debate. We're only occupying a tiny footprint in the larger debate. And it's ridiculous because it's a vassalization of our national discourse to countries and term setters that develop the algorithms. So he or she who creates Facebook, the algorithm, or Twitter, the algorithm, essentially conditions our entire national discourse along these axes. And we're conditioned in terms of the vocabulary we use, we can't use, the concepts we want to popularize or that are unpopular, or even the identity of the users that can use it. These term setters can dictate all of that on any given day. Turning on the tap, turning off the tap, turning off a user, turning off a user, and good on them. They developed the algorithm, they're the kings and the queens. They put in the work, they put in the thinking. We didn't. We imagined that this is the extent of our national parameters. To be really free and sovereign, free in our speech and sovereign as a country, we will need to control all 3 axes. We don't imagine that censorship is along this axis, when really the censorship can come from the term setters that create the algorithms in California. By the way, most of them, good on them, are based in California. A real country that thinks for itself, and I'm for a country that thinks for itself, controls all 3 axes, and we must do it in a democratic context. All the more difficult, but all the more difficult because 1, we don't realize our circumstances. 2, there's a lot of work to be done. But if, unlike the pandemic, we're to tell ourselves what's really happening in the country, in business, in the school system, which is dear to my heart, in national unity, internationally, in the North, in transportation terms, in human terms, in a social context, we need to be able to tell our reality to ourselves on our own terms. Otherwise, we'll imagine that we're speaking our own reality, but importing the terms developed in other countries, usually friendly, sometimes unfriendly, often accidentally unhelpful, and sometimes deliberately harmful, displacing our own reality. And so it was during the pandemic, that we couldn't correct the decision makers' mistakes in many cases because we couldn't even feed back on American social media, largely American social media, to decision makers who themselves were using American social media, retweeting and reposting terms that were set and events that were discussed and vocabulary that was used in other countries by term setters who were not us. Let's become term setters. Let's manage our own information space, raise the level, raise the energy level for the 21st century for Canada.